what is all this hoopla about Roe v. Wade? Normally, I wouldn't comment on it, but I think that since the world has been talking about this famous case, Roe v. Wade, I might as well give my opinion. Now, Roe v. Wade, as you know, is the case that basically enshrines a woman's right to choose, which is fine. Now, the problem that I'm having is I'm trying to wrap my head around why are so many people making such a big deal about it. Okay, let me explain really what happened. If you read the opinion authored by Judge Clarence Thomas, it is not an opinion based on legal precept. Normally, when the Supreme Court issues an opinion, they use precedent, they explain certain things, and then they obviously issue an opinion. It's based on legal precept. This opinion is really about politics. But here's what I don't understand. The Supreme Court right now, as it stands, has 6 conservatives in the Supreme Court. Donald Trump alone was able to actually nominate 3 of the 6. So everybody knew that the Supreme Court was going to overturn Roe v. Wade. In fact, in my in Q News blog, which is my news blog, I wrote an article, okay, almost 4 years ago, and I said that this is the beginning of the end of Roe v. Wade. Now, when the opinion was released a few months ago, everyone was upset, but this was to be expected. There was nothing to be upset about. We all knew that Republicans have been fighting tooth and nail to overturn Roe v. Wade. And for 50 years, they had not been able to do that because they didn't have the type of conservative judges in the Supreme Court who would be willing to do that. Now, I know that many senators, people are saying, well, when Kavanaugh came to Judiciary Committee doing his confirmation process, he promised that he would not overturn Roe v. Wade. Well, obviously, they all were lying. There were like 3 justices who said Roe v. Wade is fundamental, is established law. They're not going to touch it. They're going to respect precedent. But they didn't, because that's what they wanted. So the minute that they controlled the Supreme Court, we knew that they wanted to overturn Roe v. Wade. So I'm not surprised at all. We knew this was going to happen. It happens. Now, for people who don't think that, voting is important, well, guess what? Voting has consequences. Whoever gets elected president, they get to pick who sits in the Supreme Court. And if someone is telling you that the Supreme Court is above politics, tell them that it's bullshit. The Supreme Court is about nothing but politics, okay? That's all the Supreme Court is about. Every judge make decisions based on politics, whether it's the conservative Republican, the 6 judges, or the 3 judges that are liberal, they all make decisions with political consideration. So I'm not surprised. Now, here's what I think is going to happen. The opinion in Roe v. Wade, okay, I read the opinion, and Justice Clarence Thomas made it very clear that he's ready to consider gay marriage, contraceptions, okay? So he's ready to consider those issues as what he sees as cases that were wrongly decided by the Supreme Court. So when those cases come up to the Supreme Court, do not be surprised if the Supreme Court overturn the case that recognized gay marriage. Do not be surprised if the Supreme Court overturn the case that says that a person has the right to use contraception. So this is not something that I am surprised about. This is something that we all knew was going to happen, because here's the funny thing. When Kavanaugh was nominated by Donald Trump, we know that the Democratic Party, the senators, especially the Democrats, were very, very upset about it. And they tried very, very hard to derail Kavanaugh's confirmation to the Supreme Court. And the reason why they were so adamant and trying to derail Kavanaugh's confirmation, it wasn't so much because Kavanaugh was just this terrible person and they claimed that he raped this woman, he raped that other woman. And quite frankly, Kavanaugh had been confirmed before. And no one had any issues before when he was confirmed for the Court of Appeals in Washington. No one had any issues with that. But the Supreme Court was a different thing. And they knew that the conservative was going to control the court. So they were trying to derail Kavanaugh. So that didn't happen. So now there we are with a Supreme Court that has 5 solidly conservative judges, okay? 5, I mean, Justice Robert, forget about him. I mean, Justice Robert was kind of the guy in the middle who was trying to look for consensus. This court is no longer for Justice Robert. Justice Robert certainly has basically lost the court. I think that the 5 justices who are very solidly conservative will overturn a number of cases, okay? Now, certainly, this is really all about politics. It's about philosophy. It's about the way that, it's really about where you fall in the political line. If you're a conservative, then of course, you know, you want to overturn anything that seems to give people more rights. If you are a liberal and you want to expand people's rights, which is, I'm not really making an opinion. I'm not saying that is right or wrong. I'm simply explaining what's really going on. So I wouldn't be surprised if gay marriage is overruled or overturned. I wouldn't be surprised if the Supreme Court overturned a number of cases. Now, certainly, here's what and this is where, if you watch my channel, you're gonna know that I'm the most unbiased person. This past week, the Supreme Court did 2 things. One was the overturning of Roe v. Wade. The other thing is there was another case that basically was a challenge to conceal carrying of a firearm, which the Supreme Court, for the first time in 100 years, basically said that New York cannot put woodblocks, okay, in front of citizens who want to carry a concealed weapon, which is, I lived in New York, and to me, that's crazy because you don't want anybody carrying concealed weapons in New York. But this is a thing that we all knew the Supreme Court was going to do. So I don't even understand why we're making a big deal about it. I don't even understand why there are people out there protesting all over the place and talking about, oh my God, this is going to be the end of the world. It ain't going to be the end of the world, okay? It's not going to be the end of the world. Let me explain to you what Roe v. Wade did. 50 years ago, the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that a woman has a privacy right to her body. So in other words, a woman has a right to an abortion. Okay, that's fine. So anywhere around the country, whether you're in Tennessee or you're in New York, you have a right. If you're a woman, you have a right to an abortion. But we know that there were people in the country who actually believed that they ought to be able to tell a woman what to do. So certain states, okay, have more stringent, you know, abortion laws, which is true. But here's the thing. What the opinion actually said is that let's allow the states, the different states, to decide whether or not abortion should be legal in their own state. So if you are Mississippi, for example, we know who control Mississippi. We know, for example, that they really want to, you know, they don't want to legalize abortion. They want to get rid of abortion. So if you live in Mississippi, you ain't going to be able to get an abortion if you're a woman. But if you live in New York, you live in California, you live in Maryland, you live in certain state, yes, the laws in the state with regard to abortions will not change. So when you hear people talk about, well, they're taking the women's right, no. They're not doing that. All the Supreme Court is saying, there isn't a constitutional right to an abortion. That's what they're saying. But they're not saying that a state cannot decide whether or not to allow women to have an abortion. So if the state of Tennessee, for example, said, look, we're going to outlaw abortion in our state, okay, that's fine. So people want to have abortion, they can go to another state. Now, this is where things get really dicey, okay? Some people argue that, well, this is going to affect poor women, Black and Hispanic people who may not have money to travel to another state. Well, but guess what happened? If these people don't have the money to travel, well, since the federal government wants these people to exercise their right to an abortion, then the federal government then should pay for a program that would allow the transportation of women from state A, where abortion is illegal, to state B, where abortion is legal. And then everything is fine. Everything is fine. So here's the thing. The thing is that we have to understand in this country that voting is important. When Trump became president, okay, the Republican Party has been praying for decades. They have been praying for decades to be able to nominate to the Supreme Court justices who were willing to overturn Roe v. Wade. Basically, justices were willing to hold back everything, all the rights that that people have gotten in the last 50 years, 60 years. They wanted to hold that back. Well, it's a cultural war. Okay? It's very simple. Here's the cultural war. The Republican conservatives believe that abortion is murder. They believe that a woman shouldn't have a right to choose. And some of them believe in some very, very limited circumstances, in the case of rape and incest, maybe a woman may have a chance to choose. But some of them don't even believe that. They're saying, oh, forget it, you can't have an abortion. Okay. We have one group who said, look, women ought to have a right to have an abortion. I happen to believe that, hey, a woman wants to have an abortion, that's fine. I'm a man, I'm never going to have an abortion. So I really don't have a dog in the fight. But if I was a woman, I would want the opportunity to decide what happened to my own body. I would want to be able to exercise reproductive right. I would want to be able to decide when and if I have a child. I wouldn't want to be forced to have a child. Now, having put this argument together, there are women out there who actually believe abortion is right. There are women also who believe that they should have the right to do it. So on both sides, you have people arguing and their point of view. So you have to consider both. But at the end of the day, people ought to understand that what happened in the Supreme Court with regard to Roe v. Wade is the consequence of who was elected president. It's the consequence of who became president, because the president gets to nominate whoever he wants in the Supreme Court. And normally the president would nominate someone who's aligned with his political thinking. So certainly Donald Trump nominated 3 justices in the Supreme Court, and certainly all 3 of them shares his view. So the Democrat now is going to have to play catch up. I don't know what they're going to do, because there are going to be cases coming up. And some of these cases, if those 5 justices that I just told you about, those 5 conservative justices, and then you can see their picture in the screen, those 5 people are going to control what happened in the Supreme Court for a long time to come. Now, Justice Clarence Thomas is old. He's getting there. I think he's 73 or 74, but he's getting there in age, okay? And certainly, I'm not saying that, he's gonna die soon. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying that he's old, and maybe, maybe there might be an opportunity for a Democratic president to nominate another justice. Now, even if that were to happen, I doubt that would make a big difference, because remember, the history of the Supreme Court has always been kind of a balanced court where you have 4 conservative, 4 liberal, and you have one guy in the middle who can either go either way. And that has always happened, in terms of the history of the Supreme Court. But the Supreme Court, okay, and I'm saying this to you guys who are watching this video, Supreme Court is a very, very politicized branch of our government. So when people say, oh no, it's the Supreme Court, they're above politics, I say no. The Supreme Court is not above politics. In fact, the Supreme Court is about politics, because if the Supreme Court wasn't about politics, then a Democratic president could nominate a conservative judge, could nominate someone who's against abortion or against certain rights. But they don't do that. They all have a litmus test that they give to all the nominees. The Democrats have their own litmus test, and the Republicans have their own litmus test that they give to nominees. And they want the nominees to fall in line with the political thinking of the party. So that is the reason why you see what you see in the Supreme Court of the United States. Now, remember that this is the first time that the Republican, the Republican Party has been able to have that many justices in the Supreme Court. And they're going to ride it for a very long time, because Kavanaugh is young, Judge Corbett is young. They got a lot of young judges there that are in the early 50s, late 40s. So these justices are going to be there for a very long time. So even if there was one opportunity, okay, in terms of a vacancy, then you would talk about maybe Clarence Thomas would probably be the first one, because he's the oldest. Yeah, that probably wouldn't make much of a difference. Okay, probably wouldn't make much of a difference. It would just give the Democrat an opportunity to have one more justice, so it would be kind of a 4 to 5, and maybe Justice Robert, who's basically is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, who actually, I believe, really lost control of the Supreme Court because he didn't want to overturn Roe v. Wade. In fact, what he said was he would have upheld the ban in regard to this case and then allow Roe v. Wade to stand. But of course, he didn't do it. He couldn't do it. There were 5 justices who were hell-bent on getting rid of Roe v. Wade. So the question is, guys, when you hear these things, just think about it in the way that I described it. It's all about politics. And women will still be able to have an abortion. There might be, 20, 24 or 25 states in the union that may have some kind of ban on abortion. But the rest of the state, especially in the coast, they are going to have laws that continue to allow women to have abortion. So all the cries, all the hoopla you heard about Roe v. Wade, it's really about nothing, okay? Because people are still going to be able to have abortion if they want an abortion, all right? So do please subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed, do so. Send a link to your friend. And like I said all the time, I welcome all your comments, good, bad, and ugly. I do welcome all comments. And I try to respond to some of your comments. I don't respond to all comments. I respond to some of them. So if you do make a comment, I would be glad to hear what you think about Roe v. Wade, and also about, carrying concealed weapon in New York City, which I don't agree with. I don't think anyone needs to carry a concealed weapon unless you're a police officer or you have some good reason to do it. I think just allowing anybody with a licensed handgun to carry a weapon into open space like that in the subway, it's a really ill-conceived notion. And I don't think that the judges in the Supreme Court, especially Clarence Thomas, understand what really entails in that. And I'm not even going to start talking about the Second Amendment, because I think this is a show for a different time. And I would want to talk about the Second Amendment, but I will do that at a different time. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe to the channel.